Seeing people's brain dead comments about unions make me so mad. People repeat the same 4 comments about how it's a middleman and killing industry where their manager makes what they do. Yeah, well, not even their manager. I mean, they're fucking executives. Listen, you're definitely going to see some people who have been fucking completely brainwashed against it. It's fine. The degree of support for unions has never been higher in America since like the 60s. So at this point, it's more of like a broad-based support that you have to tap into rather than trying to convince every single person. What I try to show again and again, what I think is so important when making this argument is that, like, I think people have very, very, very poor knowledge of history, to be honest. People don't know about history, and they don't have memories that go back very far. And I don't think people realize just how this stuff happened before in America. In America, when it was successful and prosperous, and it worked. Like, it's not, people think of it like, oh, unions, that's not an American thing. Well, I don't, it feels weird. It feels like, well, that's not communist Russia. I don't know. People have a weird stance on it that's like based in a very short period of time recently when unions have been weak. And they don't notice that, like, we had fucking post-Great Depression, huge clawback in power by unions that led to a huge prosperous era. The CEO should join the union. Would be a big whoa moment when they're striking too. The CEO is the one negotiating against them. So what if he's in the union, then it would be over, right? There wouldn't be anything to strike against. We need a CEO union. You know what? We do. Because now I feel like these poor CEOs are getting their pockets picked by labor. We need a CEO union to strike back. But you see what's so funny? What I think illustrates this so much is that if the CEO walks off the job, the company keeps working fine. If the CEO goes, I won't work, I'm sitting off till you give me better pay, everything keeps going fine. The company keeps making cars. Someone steps up. Their strike means nothing. And yet they've been extracting more and more and more and more value. That's what's fucked up to me. Like, there's the argument that, like, I don't know, like if all of the money, all the extra money the company was making was going to the investors in the company, everyone, every single fucking person who owns, every retiree who has 2 shares of Ford for their retirement account, if it was being split up and distributed, that's one thing. It's a different argument. Still, you have to figure it out because I don't think that makes sense. But at least that's an argument where it's like, okay, I invested in this company, I took a risk, and now I'm making a profit. But the management is who's been benefiting the most. Not even the share. It's always going to, in these companies, going to the management. Just this weird management layer who's like, I don't know, like a virus. They put themselves into the company and just started getting fat and leeching off all of the profits. They don't do much. They're not that impressive. Most CEOs are not some fucking genius who's so 1,000 times smarter than the average person that could fill that role. And yet they get so much more money. It's just a weird thing that's happened in the past few decades. It's not normal. It's not like that's not always been that way. And yet we just keep idolizing them like they're fucking incredibly smart. And them and their cronies get all of the money from the company. They all think they're Steve Jobs. Yeah, it's like fucking Mary Barra of GM is not Steve Jobs. The company is not innovative. She's not fucking changing anything. She's just sitting there telling people to make the same cars they've made. And yet she's got a fucking absurd pay package. Yeah, David Zaslav, dude. David Zaslav getting paid hundreds of millions of dollars to be like, let's name HBO Max to Max. Let's bring back CNN. He's doing the dumbest fucking decision. He's getting paid hundreds of millions, and then the fucking writers are asking for pennies in comparison. To me, it's so obvious that it makes sense both economically and morally. It's like there's just no argument against it unless you want one fucking rich old guy to be that much richer. Like, oh, please, God, give David Zaslav a bigger pay package. Yeah, I think it's fucking dumb. Is the extra pay the management gets enough to pay for the cost of the union workers' pay increases, though? I don't know if it's 1-to-1. It's not far off, especially in the case of the writer's strike. It was the increase in pay since the time of the last writer's strike was enough. In this case, I don't know with the workers, but also like they did report record profits. GM, Ford, and Stellantis had record profits over the pandemic. And so they definitely had the money. Do you think the actor strike will start using these tactics? The problem is the actor strike is up against a much more savvy enemy. These guys, it's very difficult to play them against each other because all of these guys made their own union. It's called the AMPTP. So Netflix and Disney and Warner Bros. And Paramount and Apple and Sony and Universal and Amazon are all part of a union called the AMPTP, and they negotiate as one. So you can't be like, hey, Paramount, if you give us a deal, we'll start making movies for you, but not for WB, which would be great because then they would all break. Instead, they all negotiate as one. And so it's very hard. You can't make any movie. Like all studios are in one. And so if you're an actor and you want to make a movie, nobody will give you, like they'll either give you a deal or not. It's a cartel, basically. Yeah, it's a cartel. The problem is, I mean, listen, it doesn't change things, it just drags it out, because at the end of the day, some of these companies are benefited by a strike more than others. And that case is Netflix. The longer the actor strike goes on, the more ahead Netflix gets and the farther behind everyone else does. Because Netflix has established global production. They can make a lot of shows in Korea and foreign countries that don't have stuff like that. And they have a bigger backlog. So people are not canceling Netflix, but they're canceling Disney, they're canceling Paramount and everything else. They're not canceling Netflix. So Netflix is getting ahead. Like, Netflix is actually secretly loving the strike. Low key, if you look at it, their stock is doing better. If you listen to their fucking Wall Street quarterly reports, they're talking about how they're almost upset the writer strike is ending because it's going to increase their cost. And so everyone else in this room is getting shifty eyes towards Netflix because they're like, hey, what the fuck? Warner Brothers needs the fucking strike to end. They have no fucking movies, bro. They need fucking to launch Dune 2. They have shit to do. They need to make money. But Netflix is just still raking in cash and they're happy. So you understand, like, these guys are going to have to arguments. They are going to break up. Like, it's going to be a problem, but it's taking a long time and that's hard for the actors. So hopefully a deal can get made. How is the government allowing big companies to make a union seem so fucking dystopian? They organize the same way as anyone else, I guess. I mean, it's not... This is not even the biggest problem to me because they could do this in secret or in public, right? Whatever. Like, it's almost unenforceable. If they agree to not negotiate without each other, that's like, it's whatever. But what is a problem is that our government, in the Taft-Hawley Act of like the fucking late 40s, banned the ability of so many things related to unions. Like, the government made it illegal to do a solidarity strike, to do a general strike. Like, all of our union shit in America has to be done through like specific procedures. Like, if you want to make a Starbucks union, you have to be the Starbucks union for that store. You can't be a nationwide Starbucks union. It's like there's all these weird rules the government enforces to make unions weaker and easily broken that don't exist in other countries. Like Sweden and stuff have like long times have many general strikes just to get more power for all workers. And we have these weird laws that are super backwards that were basically written by business leaders and forced down mid. What if we say fuck that? Well, you kind of have to do it with votes, I guess, and leadership, because the problem is the government has a monopoly on violence. That's the power of the government, is they have a monopoly on violence, which means you can't be violent back, but they can be violent to you. They can lock you up. They can move you. They can grab you and move you to a jail, and you cannot do that to them. That is why the government is kind of the end all stop. Like, that's why businesses eventually, when they're losing a union, go to the government, and they try to convince them to send in people to break up the strike with violence. Is because that's the advantage. So anarchism is the answer. No, absolutely not. I disagree wholeheartedly. I think in anarchy, everyone here would be fucking dead. If you are the type of person who enjoys watching Twitch and hanging out in chat, you would be dead in an anarchy. Anarchy is literally only the strong survive, or the strong dictate all of the rules. Actually, yeah, and in anarchy, the companies probably would take over. They would have their own fucking private police force, which they actually did have back in the 30s. Henry Ford had a private fucking like Ford's guys, 300 person strong private military that he used to beat up strikers. And that was just chill in the 30s. Hey, Shark, sorry for the dumb question. Do all industries have a union associated with it, or do they form as needed? They don't. Union membership has fallen off hard. 6 to 8% of workers nowadays, when it used to be 35, 40, used to be like over a third of all workers were in a union, but it's starting to rise again. Ideally, all workers get paid a livable wage, but wouldn't an increase in all wages increase inflation and cost of living? No, the idea is that there's a set amount of profit, right? And it's being split in different directions. The idea is to change that split so more of it goes to the workers and less of it goes ideally to the management, who have been extracting more and more wealth. That's the idea. Because if the management were to strike, it wouldn't stop anything. You know what I'm saying? It just wouldn't. They're just much more easily replaced, yet they command much more of the money. And it's a weird shell game they've been playing. It's also like, you know, at the end of the day, if a union's demands are too great and they force a deal that doesn't work, then it will hurt the union as well. You understand? Like, if the company goes bankrupt, then everyone loses their job. So it's a give and take. It's a negotiation. If within 40 days, the union can get all three of these companies to agree to this deal, it becomes very obvious that like the deals they were offering before were intentionally lowballs. Like, if someone offers you a fucking $1,000 for your Messi signed jersey and you're like, no, and you start to walk away, they go, okay, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $4,000. You know what I'm saying? They could have paid more the whole time. They were just trying to lowball you. Do you understand? Like, they had the money. But the second you actually threaten to walk away, they start offering you more. It becomes obvious that like they could have done it, but they were hoping your stupidity would allow you to get lowballed. Hey, Big A, when do you think the yen is going to be stronger? I'm losing my money every day on Forex trading, betting bullish on the yen. Why? In God's name, did you decide out of the blue to become a fucking Forex trader and bet on the fucking yen rising? What was your thesis? That's so strange, bro. Are you a fucking experienced multi-year Forex trading professional? Go to Vegas, bro. Bet on red or black. You'll have better odds. Anyway, no, I can't tell you. I don't know when the yen is going to be stronger, bro. Nobody knows. It's not a fact you can know. You can have a guess based on a thesis, looking at, all of where things are heading with the government and the economy, and try to make a guess. But my guess is things are going to be pretty bad for Japan for a while, because they have literally not stopped at any point printing money to try and prop everything up from their whole government. I have a friend in Japan just told me the rail pass or whatever, the price just doubled. Like they're getting hit with inflation, bro, because their government keeps printing. But I'm not saying to short the yen because I don't know. I am just knowing what I'm not confident enough to put my money on the line, because weird things can happen that nobody understands. Like, the UK government bond could be weak one day and all of a sudden around the world it becomes better to buy Japanese, whatever. It's way more interconnected than you think. And weird shit causes weird things to happen all the time. You have to be a super, super, super duper savvy Forex trader who thinks about it all the time to have any kind of edge. A meteor of gold and diamonds falls in Japan. That could happen. Or what if they figure out a way to make anime real? All of a sudden, Japan's #1 country on earth, dude. Their economy skyrockets. Everybody needs yen.